Hey, thank you for joining us. Today we have Sharon Nyberg, the great Sharon Nyberg.
Oh, whatever.
Sharon is a broker at Varsity Real Estate. Sharon and I actually go far back to the original Team Delay days, for those of you that have been following along a long time. My mother, Edie, the legend of Bend Real Estate, started that. Sharon was one of the first brokers that ever joined Team Delay. And what year was that?
2017.
2017.
May of 2017.
And you've worn pretty much every hat at the company from there up until the iteration that we're at today, which is Varsity, our own actual independent brokerage. But Sharon came along, she was doing transaction coordinating, excuse me, she was doing marketing, she was consistently always selling properties, but she was wearing all sorts of different hats because she's a jack of all trades, she's a get it done, can do attitude, and that has proven to give her a lot of success in her different careers, especially here doing real estate in Bend, Oregon, Central Oregon. Sharon has a background she owned her own business. She did the dog watch company for a long time. Do you want to tell anybody about that and what you learned through all that?
Yeah, dog watch was an awesome experience. I don't know how anybody in Bend has a dog and doesn't have one of these, but it literally saved my dog's life. And I loved being in the business and having the business, because what's better than working with somebody who just absolutely loves their dogs.
So you sold that company, you got into real estate. What has been your niche, you think, so far in real estate?
Oh, wow. I would say I really enjoy doing the acreage properties, and just because I'm a horse girl, so why not? And I feel like that has really been a love of mine, although I kind of worked across, I've done kind of everything at this point. Most recently spending a lot of time just watching Skyline Ranch come into full bloom.
Yeah, so tell us about Skyline Ranch. What is that?
Skyline Ranch is a really unique opportunity in Bend, I think. It is a new community out on northwest corner of Bend, literally backs right up to Shovelin Park. And because of its location, it has special zoning. It's called the West Side Transect zoning, which actually requires the lots to be a minimum of 2.5 to 5 acres. So, I mean, that's like a gem in Northwest Bend. You can't find lots that big anymore. And the nice thing about it is it's a super private community. All the lots are heavily treed. There's just big room space, beautiful views, and you're technically in the county, but just minutes from everything Bend. So.
Yeah, and one thing I love about too is you're tucked back away. There's not this through traffic and people driving through. It's a very slow, tucked away community. So if you're looking for that chill vibe in Northwest Bend, this is a great spot to look.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so through your experience of Skyline Ranch, which you've been representing those clients there for a couple of years now, and there's probably 2 or 3 more years of development there potentially, and through past experience when our team used to represent Polish Homes, which was a great experience working with that local developer here in Central Oregon. Sharon has accumulated a lot of information and just experience in the new construction world and what's it like to have your home built or to build a home on a bare piece of dirt. You have to have some vision, you got to have some wherewithal. And so that's going to really be what our conversation is circled around today about, hey, what are the things that you need to know if you're considering building from something from ground up here?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Totally.
That's the goal.
Totally.
Right, now let me cheat. If you've driven around Bend or anywhere in Central Oregon, right, you see a lot of sticks going up in the air, what they call it, right? You see a lot of vertical building going, a lot of framing. This town is still booming, right, in the construction world. That's no secret, and that's on the commercial and on the residential side. So, talk to us a little bit about like what is the driving force? Why are we still seeing all this development happening?
Yeah. Well, one is, like I mentioned, that special zoning has opened up new residential areas in Bend that have become highly desirable. But I think one of the biggest things that I hear from people when they come out to look at the lots is that they can't find what they're looking for in the resale market. This was particularly true when inventory levels were so low. But even now, people that are wanting to build their own home are very specific in what they're looking for. So with these new opportunities and new zoning that's going on, that's opening up more opportunities to start from scratch, we're seeing more new construction coming in.
Yeah, and we're seeing that from the developer side.
Yeah.
Companies like Hayden, Polish, all those, the regular suspects in that space. But you're also seeing quite a bit of custom homes.
Yeah.
And I would say that's happening all around the city.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I would say, is happening on the northwest side when you see the Westgates, the Tree Farms, the Skyline Ranches, a lot of custom buildings still happening in a lot of those areas. So it's kind of both the spec world is what they call it, a speculative build, where you
Mhm.
don't have a buyer yet, but also the custom where, hey, I'm buying the land and I'm hiring somebody to build this house for me the exact way I want it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so building could seem like a daunting task, right?
Mhm.
You're creating something from nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get to the question on here. Okay, so building can seem like pretty daunting, right? If you think about it, especially if you've never done it before,
Yeah.
you're creating something completely from scratch. You have to have some vision. So where the heck do you start
Yeah.
on something like this?
And that's a great question. And I think that's the number one question when I meet people out to look at the lots. They just have this glazed over look, like, I don't even know where to begin. And through this process, it's been really fun to understand the proper way to go about this if you're building a custom home. It's a little different if you're working with, a developer and you're working with a new construction in a development. You don't have the luxuries that you can with building your own home.
Mhm.
But I always tell people, start with having an idea of what you want to build and what that's going to look like. Start building a storyboard, whether it's in your mind or physical storyboard. Number 2 is start identifying the neighborhoods and the areas of town that meet and fit your lifestyle and kind of the feel that you're looking for where you want to live. But start identifying those now, because when those special lots come up, they don't stay around for very long, and you want to have an idea as to where you're going to go. Plus, knowing the area that you want to build will be really, really critical when you start on the next step, and that's starting to identify builders that you want to work with and architects that you want to work with.
Would you start with a builder first, or would you start with an architect or designer first?
That's a great question. I personally feel like you want to start with the builder. The builder is the key relationship there. And I really feel like they're going to direct you in a really good way as to who to use from an architectural standpoint and someone that they'll work with, which again will go a long way in through the process.
Yeah, it's similar to our relationship with like a lender.
Exactly.
We've worked with somebody in the past. We know that they're trustworthy. We know that they get the job done. There's a connection and camaraderie there. So the same thing can happen between builder and architect.
Totally.
And can cut out a lot of the unexpected that can happen in that relationship.
Totally. And that leads to my next point of what you need to do is start that process. Start meeting with builders and architects. And last but not least, those first 3 bullets will naturally take you to getting a good understanding of how much is this going to cost you and what are realistic timelines to consider when you're building a new home.
Yeah, and probably also really important to understand like what you can build in certain communities. Like if I'm really into a Southwest Adobe style, like there's not a lot of places within planned unit development or something with an HOA where that might be acceptable, right? So you have to kind of know like what is your style, where can that actually be built, because it's not going to be for every place.
Exactly.
So you mentioned something in that that last question about a storyboard.
Yeah.
For those of us that don't know,
what is a storyboard?
Please explain. What is a storyboard?
Storyboards can be actually really fun. When you start thinking, and when I say start thinking about understanding what you want to build, I'm not saying you need to walk out with a full plan and be ready with a full plan day one. You do have to have the particulars, like what kind of style home are you attracted to? Are you thinking about? To your point, that will become important when you're identifying lots. 2, you will also a storyboard will help you start to realize the must-haves, the things that these are non-negotiables, things that you really have to have in this new home. If you're going to spend the money that you're going to be spending to build your own home, you're going to want these key things in. Yeah. And this will all come into play when you talk about costs, when you talk about builders selection, architect selections, and lot selections.
Yeah. You need to be able to communicate to your builder and your architect the kind of the non-negotiables, the important things, so that they can then go create that for you. They're not going to be able to just think it out of thin air.
Totally. Yeah. And you can create a board. I've had many people come to me in Skyline Ranch with actual boards with pins on it of different styles of homes that they've seen that they really like. Outdoor living spaces, that's huge, and these are all things that we're going to want to make sure can be done on this lot and in this neighborhood. But again, if you see something, if you're driving down the street or you're looking online at homes that are for sale and you're like, I like that aspect of that home, make a copy and pin it to your board. And that's going to become your dream board.
Yeah. So, all right. So you've got your dream board, maybe you've got a kind of a vision for what you want to build. but now you're looking for the lot. You're looking for the bare land. What are the most important key factors you think in starting that search for bare land?
Yeah, well, we talked about a couple of them. One is, first and foremost, you have an idea what you want to build, what that's going to look like in your mind. Make sure your lot can accommodate that type of a home. Not every home can be situated perfectly for a daylight basement, and those are really big right now. Not every home will be big enough to do 5,000 square feet of single level home. These are all things that when you're looking at lots, you need to consider, start thinking in your mind, how's this going to lay out? The other thing is topography. I mean, drive around Bend. We do not have a lot of flat land, especially on the northwest side of town. As you get closer to Shevlin Park and the mountains, the more rock you get, the more elevation on lots you get. So those are all things to take into consideration. Again, not only from a cost standpoint, from a builder selection standpoint, as well as a home style standpoint.
Talk to me about like utilities on a lot of, what should you be thinking about? If are there utilities there or they're not utilities there? So those types of things.
Great question. Should be a question out of your mouth the second you go to look at lots. Like, where are the utilities and what utilities are included?
Talking power, talking sewer or septic.
Yep.
Internet cable, gas.
Water, gas, all of those things. You want to know where those are located and take that into consideration in your home placement.
Yeah. For instance, if you have a 5-acre lot and maybe the utilities are at the street, okay, that's great. But where's your house placement going to be on that 5 acres, and how much is it going to cost to trench it, to whatever, however many feet it is to get it there? So those are the types of things you got to be talking with about your builder up front so that you can work that into the budget.
Totally. But the other thing that you brought up too is when you're looking at lots, if you're finding a one-off lot that isn't part of a planned community, and when I talk about planned community, we're talking about communities that have HOAs and CCNRs attached to them. You're pretty good to go and do whatever you want. But if you are, and most custom homes are being built within some type of development where you have design guidelines, you have an ARC committee, which is an architectural review committee, you have CCNRs. These are all going to dictate what you build, how you build it, timeframes. They get very, very specific. So I would suggest, if you're looking at lots, request a copy of those right away so that you can review them. I've had incredible situations where people have found the lot that they absolutely love, and they, get into a scenario where one was they bought the lot, they started construction, they then went to architectural review to get the final permission for their colors that they wanted. And, iron ore is like the most popular color. Everybody wants to paint or stain their house that color. This community didn't allow black homes. So it was a big battle. And in the end, it cost the owner a huge amount of money just delaying construction, going through this battle, and they had to eventually do a different color. But those are things that you need to understand. Style of home, that's why I'm asking, make sure you have some type of idea. If you are looking for a really contemporary, modern home, take a look around at the homes in the developments that you're looking. Are there other ones in there that are like that? If there's not, ask why not, because they're probably not permitted.
There's probably a reason for it.
Yes, exactly. So, but the design guidelines will give you a really good understanding. I think not only in terms of what you can do and what you can't do, but also what it's going to be like working with them through the process. You will be intimately involved with the Architectural Review Committee. And that is a relationship that you want to have a really good working relationship with. And if you if you start seeing stuff that seems to get a little stringent, you might want to go, wow, is this, what's this going to be like through the building process?
They're not all created equal, and they've all got their own shticks that they stick to. And you've got to kind of flush that out and identify what those are by talking to builders, by talking to architects, by talking to other homeowners within the community, and figure out, what was the process like? Was this just a pain in the neck that's going to absolutely make it not worth it, or are they a little bit easier to work with?
Yep.
I want to circle back to something you said. This is not necessarily associated with new construction, but you said CC&Rs. Okay, we get this question a lot, like, what are CC&Rs? What does it even stand for? Let's pop quiz, see if you know. I'm sure you do. And those are oftentimes, they can, not always, but have a relationship with the HOA, homeowners association. So talk to us about what the heck does CC&Rs mean, and What does that
Yeah.
do for you?
CCNRs, they'll pop up in places that you never expected them because they're required by the city for any development that is done within the city limits, sometimes even out in the county. CCNRs, which stand for Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions.
You nailed it. That is correct.
Outlie basically all the parameters that the builder has put into place, or the developer, excuse me, has put into place when developing and establishing this neighborhood. So these are going to be rules that will be basically need to be followed within the community. Now here's the catch. If there's, typically when you have CCNRs, you do have HOAs. HOAs then monitor and make sure that the CCNRs are being followed. If there's no HOA, CCNRs, there's nobody there's no formal committee to monitor those CCNRs. So sometimes there's a little lax there. I wouldn't count on it, but that sometimes comes up. But it is super important to understand what the CCNRs say. There's, a lot of CCNRs in towns. Right now, everybody wants chickens. They want to grow, hatch their own eggs, I guess. Hatch their own eggs.
Yeah.
And, they want to have their own fresh eggs, which is great. There are many CCNRs in the city limits, mostly in the city limits, that don't allow chickens or any type of livestock in yards, even though these little chickens really don't cause any harm to anybody else. Yeah. So those are just things you need to be aware of.
Yeah, and then go over things like when and where can you park your car? What color can your house be? What does your fence look like? Can you have fences?
Yes, that's
right. What pets can you have? How many pets can you have? Those types of things. And they can be really good, but you have to be the type of person that is maybe more of a rule follower. Say, hey, I'm signing up for this up front. I know it up front because it is really there for the benefit of the whole community. Totally. And you have to subscribe to that if you're going to buy within that community.
Yeah, I'm a big HOA person. I just think it protects property values over long term when you're, inside the city limits. I think that they're very helpful. But you have to understand that you will be governed by those rules too, not just your neighbors.
They're definitely not for everybody, though. We recognize that.
Yes.
There are people we specifically get, and they say,
no
we
HOA.
do not want HOA. In fact, we do not even want CCNR. So there may be often times where you find there are CCNRs that run with the property. They're attached to the title forever, but there might not be an HOA. So just be aware of that. If there is an HOA, almost every time there's CCNR. So that's kind of the relationship there.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about finding a lot, talked about things to consider. We've talked about how important the builder is in the process and selecting that right builder. What are some questions to be asking when finding this builder?
Yeah. First and foremost, do not just take one builder and be like, I'm good. You need to interview several builders. It's super important. You need to understand this is going to be a 2 to 3 year process. So you want to be working with somebody you like and somebody you're on the same viewpoints with and everything, just to make that relationship really smooth. I recommend 2 to 3 builders to meet with. If you want to meet with more, great. I always recommend bring them to the lot so that they can get an understanding of what they're going to be dealing with, and they can start to calculate in terms of what it's going to cost to build your dream home on this lot. Also, I always say, everyone says, well, where do you start looking for builders? Ask your friends. This is all word of mouth. That's the best way. Just, we as brokers get referred out to our clients' friends because of the job we do. It's the same thing with builders. If you talk to people, you have friends that have just built, ask them who they used, ask them about the experience. And utilize that. Utilize your real estate agents. They are really in tune with the builders, and they have an understanding of who you are, and they can pair you up with a builder that you would get along with and work well with. The other thing that I always say when you're talking to builders is, and we touched upon this a little bit earlier, the architect and design thing. You can go out and hire your architect, just like you will be working very closely with your builder. Your architect and your builder should be working very closely through the process. So you want your builder and your architect to get along. Sometimes some of the builders have in-house design and architects, which is great. That's probably not the usual. So they should be able to give you recommendations on who to start talking to get designs done. And then I always tell people, walk through completed homes that you're for builders that you're considering. Walk through completed homes and also walk through job sites of homes that are under construction. Even walking around and seeing how everybody's working together gives you an idea of what the process is going to be like with them. So you see things on the job site that you won't see when they're trying to sell you to build their home for you. So those are the steps that I usually recommend people do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are great points. Other questions to ask would be, what does their warranty look like? Do they stand behind their work? Maybe go back and check the CCB, see if there's been complaints against them that have been registered. Those are types of things, just make sure you're performing your due diligence just like you would when you're hiring any professional.
Yeah, and you actually just led me to another point is this is a good time to start talking about cost per square foot. There is a wide range of builders out there, anywhere from $400 a square foot up to $1,000 a square foot. You want to make sure that your budget's aligned with the building and how they can do that. And a lot of that will depend on how they run their business. Some of these builders just do everything themselves. They have excavators on their staff. They have designers in-house. They do their cabinetry in-house. All of that will get played into the cost. But that, those are questions to ask and start. You can ask them, or you can give them your idea of your budget and see if they're even able to meet that.
We do get this question a lot, like how much is it going to cost me to build a brand new home? And it's like, well, really depends. Who are you using, where you're building, how much excavation, how much flat work, how much landscaping.
What kind of faucets do you like?
How expensive is your taste, right? Like it can really just range drastically within that. Side note or side question here, what are your thoughts on a build on your own lot type of builder? So there's like Hayden has the Simplicity Homes. You can get like a Polished Select. I know there's others out there. New Era Homes, I believe, does this. There's several local ones around Central Oregon. But what's your thoughts on this? So it's kind of like a semi-custom, maybe more of a hybrid. Can this be a good option for people?
It can be a great option. They're super cost effective. Again, I would interview those different builders, the Polishes, the Haydens. You'll get an idea. Walk through their homes, get an idea of what they can do, get an idea of finish product. But they're really reasonable. They do a great job. The one thing that I will ask you to do is to make sure that your neighborhood will allow that, because that can be a sticking point for some as well.
The nice thing about those companies and the product and the service that they offer is they oftentimes have stock plans that have worked really well over the years for people, and then they can, in some degrees, be modified to adjust for your specific needs. And then there's some customization with interior finishes and colors and all those types of things too. So it can really speed up the process and be a little bit more efficient and cost effective if that's something that you're looking for. But you're correct. It's not going to work in every neighborhood in Bend.
No, but it is a great option.
All right. So hopefully that's helpful for you in learning, the ins and outs of where to at least get started on new construction. Tough to cover all the bases in one conversation, but at least get you started in that right direction. We believe, of course, we're biased. We're representing this community, but Skyline Ranch is really one of the best opportunities out there. There's more coming down the pike, right? More coming down the pike here that we would just love to share with you just for a quick minute. Sharon, tell us what should we be looking forward to out there?
Well, again, this has just been so fun watching this neighborhood just literally blossom. Every time I drive back there, I'm like, whoa, this is just so pretty. We started in phase 1, and it's hard to believe that we just are wrapping up phase 3, and we're getting ready to release phase 4. So we have 2 lots left in phase 3, and we've got 5 lots coming in phase 4. Those will release this fall. Beautiful lots, all have views. So it'll be pretty spectacular. So keep an eye out for the news on that one.
Give us what, in your opinion, what are the 2 or 3 differentiators between a Skyline Ranch and a Westgate, or maybe a tree farm where other buyers of the same caliber might be shopping?
I think tree farm is hard. I don't even think there's any very few lots left in there. I would say that tree farm, it probably closely emulates or mimics Skyline Ranch in terms of the treed lots. They are also 2.5 acres plus. Westgate is a different feel. It's more open, and if you want a flat lot, you can get a flat lot there, but you are definitely more open.
A little more exposed.
Yeah. There's not quite as much privacy in those. I think the similarities are that they all kind of back up to Shevlin Park. They're all tucked away behind neighborhoods, so it's not, to your point, what you mentioned earlier, through traffic going through there all the time. It gives you really great access to Shevlin Park and the northwest side of town. So they're all really, really special. I think that driving through, you will have a definite different feel in each one of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that comes part in like, what neighborhood do you want to be in? Because for those, some might not want to be in Skyline Ranch and would prefer Westgate. And some people drive through Westgate and call me and say, no, we want to be in Skyline Ranch. So it's really what you guys are looking for in terms of lifestyle.
How many lots total in Skyline Ranch when it's fully completed?
Yeah, 59 lots total.
Okay, so how many roughly have you sold since?
Since they started with us, 18 lots.
18 lots. And how many are available today?
2.
Oh, dang, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
How many homes have been built or are currently being built, would you say?
There are 5 completed homes. There are, I think, a total of 8 in construction right now.
And let's just go phase 3, for example, or a combination between phase 2 and phase 3. Average price point over the course of those 2 phases.
For the homes, the completed homes,
for
the lots.
Average price point for the lots.
Yeah. So big difference in terms of the views. Most of the lots in phase 2 had some sort of view or back directly to Shevlin Park. So those lots went from anywhere from $750 to up to $1.4 million. Then the phase 3, we averaged about $750 per lot on those lots.
Check it out, skylineranchbend.com. Linked right here.